What in the 20s is going
In the
on?
20s,
Think about
yeah.
the 20s.
The 20s, baby.
Plenty. What in the 20s is
I
going
am
on?
here for my 20s, baby.
This is the 20s.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Zamam Kize, and this is What's in the 20s, a podcast where you listen to me grow through its baby. On today's episode, we're going to be speaking about starting again. I think that this time of the year is always just like such a reflective period, right? It's always like a time where we're thinking about everything we've achieved, everything that's happened, everything that didn't happen, what's ahead, what we're looking forward to, what it is that we desire from ourselves, and all the rest. And it's so interesting. Like, you'll make all these plans. I remember when I started 2024, I had huge plans, big plans, unbelievable plans. Like, I was just ready to really try, I guess, claim 2024 as my year. But like, life will do what life does, right? And and it will shock you. Life will do what life does, and it will get in the way, and it will interrupt your plans, interrupt what you thought like was going to be what you had planned, I guess, essentially what you had intended, and all the rest. But you don't have control over everything. And if that's anything that this year has taught me, is just how not in control I really am. And it's such a frustrating thing to make terms with. 2024 was like, it was a difficult time for me because, I mean, the unexpected happened. My mother passed away, like, so you never plan for that. You never really think, like, I mean, we all know that one day, like, people are going to leave us, the people we care about are going to leave us, but you just never, you don't intend for it, to happen anytime soon, and all the rest. And that was like a time in my life where I just felt like, whoa, like, my whole year was cancelled. I was kind of like, we can wrap this year up now. Like, we can stop. There was nothing more I had to give, nothing more I had to show for. Like, I was kind of done pretty much at that point, because it's like, when you're dealing with like grief and all the rest, like, your whole plans, everything that you thought you were going to do and be and all the rest, it kind of feels like it goes out the window, essentially. And you lose that feeling, or that desire to want to achieve, to want to do anything, because you start feeling like, what's the point of it anyways, right? And I think very often, sometimes we may look back at our New Year's resolutions, we may look back at the goals that we have set out for ourselves, and like, realize we hadn't even achieved half of it, we hadn't even achieved most of it, and all the rest. It's like, you're sitting there and realizing, like, all the things that you thought you were going to do in the year, all the things you thought you were going to be, and all the rest doesn't kind of work out that way. And it can be so demotivating. It can make you feel so I guess, stagnant sometimes, even. Like, I felt like I was watching the lives of the people around me and my friends and so on progress and move forward. And I was so like, I was so confused in terms of my life, like, where it was going. So many of my friends have like left the country and gone to pursue like jobs elsewhere, and a life elsewhere, and their studies elsewhere, and they're just doing things that I'm so incredibly proud of, so happy for them, so excited even. Like, I can't believe, I'm just like, I live vicariously through them. I'm just like, wow, this is like amazing. But sometimes I guess it also um sits as a reminder as to how I still feel like I'm in the same place, you know? And when you're going through like something that feels so catastrophic in your life, you don't even feel you have the energy, to progress, to develop your life even more. You don't even feel like you're in the mood to create more goals, and you feel like, what's the point? And all the rest. I remember just the chaos that was my life in 2024. I don't know. Like, I feel like also part of why it was so difficult for me was because of my need to feel like I was still moving, like I was still functioning in society, like I was still progressing, right? So I remember, I mean, guys, this is crazy. I remember at my mom's funeral, right? I was getting like phone call. to do a certain project, a certain job and stuff. And I had sent a message saying, like, I can't answer this right now. Like, I'm at my mom's funeral. And it kind of was like, they kind of left little room for me not to. I still had to, I remember like having to answer that call eventually and like take on a job and work and all that stuff whilst I was still at, in this environment, in this mood and all the rest. And it's so weird saying it out loud that at my mom's funeral, I was still working. I was still trying to make sure I get certain gigs and jobs and all the rest. Because I think also like when you're freelancing, you're living like paycheck to pay, like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like I know when my next paycheck is coming and all the rest. And so it's like you try to take as much jobs as you possibly can because you don't know when the next gap is going to be. And I feel like I never took time to just sit in my like pain or my grief and all the rest because I just kept thinking like work needs to be done, like things need to keep going and progress. I kept feeling this pressure to look like I was still functioning in the midst of my dysfunction. And I think it was also this feeling of like I didn't want to be left behind. I didn't want to let what I was going through slow me down from living and from all of that. And so I put so much pressure into trying to keep up appearances, just trying to still show up to certain events, be around certain people, go to certain places, do certain things and all the rest, attend things and stuff like that because I was just like I was so desperate to not feel like I'm now being held back by certain circumstances and all the rest. And it's crazy because like you just want to achieve your goals, right? You just want to feel like you're moving with the world too, like you're a part of it. You don't want to feel like everything is happening and you're still stagnant, like you're still stuck in your hurt and your pain and your suffering and all the rest. And 2024, like that's the thing. I feel like by the time I've reached the end of it, I'm so exasperated and exhausted because what was it all worth? I feel like when I reflect back and stuff, I'm just like, what was it all worth pushing so hard, trying so hard to keep up everything? Like I feel like I'm someone I'm someone who has no problem compromising my mental and emotional health to achieve a goal. And that's the problem precisely. It's like I will compromise my sleep, I will compromise on just quality time with people and all the rest. I will compromise on just rest essentially and all the rest in order to feel like I'm achieving because the feeling of achieving it's so addictive, the feeling of accomplishing something and all the rest. It's amazing and you want it so bad because the opposite of it feels like you're so stuck. The opposite of it feels like you're so lost. And there's this book called The Power of Now, and the author like speaks about like how we should try to treat our circumstances and situations as if we um are in control of it in that sense, like try to treat things as if you're the one putting yourself in that situation, and then you ask yourself, why am I going through this? So say for example, I mean this is the worst example, but say for example I'm the one who purposely put myself in a situation where I'm grieving my mom, where my mom passes and all the rest. It's like, okay, I could look at it as, I'm a victim, woe is me and all the rest, or I could try to think of it like, what has this situation um taught me? What is it bringing out within me? And I think if, I don't think I would have learned this much patience when it comes to life and things if I hadn't gone through certain situations regarding, that time of my life. I don't think I would have learned how to, I guess, have grace for certain things, how to be more nurturing and understanding, how to surrender to the lack of control that I feel sometimes in certain spaces in life and all the rest. It's like I think I had tried so hard to save my mother. I had tried so hard to, like change her fate and all the rest. And it's like I at the end of it, I still couldn't. And it's like now I'm learning that certain things in life I are really just out of my control and I can't blame myself for it. But that's what I did. I spent so much time feeling so much guilt and feeling like I just feeling so useless essentially. And that's what I do in so many other areas of my life. Is like when I don't feel like I have control of something, I feel useless and I feel powerless and I feel like what's the point? And now I'm learning that it's okay to surrender to that truth and to allow life to take its course, the cycle of life to happen. And it's okay because you now also learn to appreciate other things even more and value other things even more. And that's what I mean when I'm like, I start thinking, what was the point of all of that? What of all the grinding that I did, of all the time and effort I spent into like pushing myself when I lost out on so many other experiences with the people I care about. Like my value system has changed a lot more now because as much as I think I put on the pedestal this idea of hustling so much, this idea of having just an impeccable work ethic, this idea of doing the most and surpassing your own potential and all the rest. It's, starting again for me feels like this idea of restructuring what's important to me. And when I think about how I want my year to look like, um, I think it's less of this feeling of accolades and achievement and success and all the rest, but it's more about finding fulfillment in the everyday. Because that's another thing also, like when I was going through the time of like my mom being in hospital and all the rest, it feels like time slows down, and like everything feels so like slow because you're rushing for answers and like you just have to give things time, you have to wait, you have to, all of that just messes with you and your concept of time changes also. And I feel like the way that I think is so different now, the way that I operate is so different, the way that I process things is so different. And yeah, like I think like when we're writing down what our goals are moving forward or what our resolutions are and all the rest, I would say start at a point of what is it that you want to feel by the end of the year? How is it you want to feel? Do you want to feel like I've got all these things that you've achieved, but you've neglected your relationships with people? You didn't, it costed you time with the people you care about and all the rest. Was that worth those sacrifices? Think about what it is that is really important to you. And I feel like for so long I thought everything else was the most important, making sure I'm the best in everything that I do, making sure I what accumulate as much money as I can, make like all of that always feels so important, especially at the beginning of the year, making sure you have the best body, like working towards, like changing your diet and your exercise and all the rest. It's like that's all the things that always consumes us at the beginning of the year. And it's quite interesting because I think for me, my priority feels more shifted towards making sure I develop healthier and more meaningful and intimate relationships with the people I care about, because and with myself too, because I think I often put that on the back burner in hopes of achieving other things. And now more importantly I realize like how much I value support, how much I value companionship, how much I value people being around me and caring for me and loving and also being able to pour back into those spaces more than I do achievement. But I think, it's so crazy that there's this quote also, I think Steve Harvey said it, that like, do you know that you could literally mess up your whole life, your whole plan, and you can still start again. And I think there's a comfort in thinking like that and knowing that and feeling that even after everything, even after you feel so depleted, defeated, devastated, when you feel so run down, when you feel so like it's over, like you've made all the mistakes possible, like you have nothing left to give, you still are at a place where you can start again. You can still go back to the drawing board and decide what it is that you want for yourself, how it is you want your life to look like, how it is you want to feel. And I think that's been that's been like part of my reflections and stuff like that, and what has made me feel more excited again is realizing that I can start again. Like, yes, I didn't achieve everything I wanted to. Yes, I didn't get through as much as I thought I would. I'm not at the place where I thought I would be. I still don't know who I am, what I am, where I'm going, all those feelings that we have being 20 something. But I do think that this idea that I can start again and again and again as many times as I want to, whenever I want to, brings me so much peace. Because I feel like it's like also that reminder you can heal your heart again, you know? And I feel like a lot of my efforts lately have been into building my heart back up. Um, Doing things that bring joy to me, trying to find excitement out of life. And essentially, like my focus has been cultivating an environment around me that is full of love, whether it's the work that I do, my passions, my interests, my friendships, my family, the spaces I take up, you know, because also like you just stop wanting certain things anymore. You stop wanting to be a part of certain things anymore or doing certain things anymore. And I think you're allowed to say like, you know, I'm just not interested in that anymore. And that's fine too because if anything, like it's so personal. This new season of my life is so personal to me because I owe me so much. You know, like I feel like it sometimes it feels like you've lost so much and you've given so much and you know you feel so worn out that I think it's okay to want the next chapter of your life, the next series of your life and all of that to be so personal to you that you're willing to make certain sacrifices to achieve what it is that you set out for yourself, that you're willing to actually get rid of distractions, you're willing to actually say no to things, have boundaries towards other things, speak up for yourself, you know, defend yourself. Like you're willing to do so much more that you weren't before in order to defend what it is that you want, in order to defend how you want to feel at the end of the year, to defend your goals, to defend your dreams. And yeah, like I think also when it comes to like things like New Year's resolutions and all the rest, like I think I stopped thinking of it as like a year thing because like right now in my life all I really can give or the way that I think like I'm living day to day and it's really helped me thinking about life that way. Like my arts teacher in high school used to always say to me, Zama, how do you eat an elephant? And I'd be like, what? That's but she'd be like, yeah, how do you eat an elephant? And I'll just be like, I don't know. And she'd be like, one bite at a time. And I just think about that all the time. Like I really all I feel like I can offer right now in my life is one bite at a time. And that's okay. Like it's okay to wake up and say to yourself, how is it that I want to feel today? How is it I want to feel by the end of today and work towards that? I used to always laugh when people said, if all you did this year was survive, then you know that's good too. I used to be like, what? If all you did this year was make it through the year, like that's crazy. Like there's so much more to do until this year, so until 2024, where I was like, oh, that's what they meant. Like if all I did was get through and really make it to the other side, like I'm actually so incredibly proud. Um because it could have been different, you know, and we see for a lot of people how unfortunately the wars that they're dealing with mentally and all the rest, it's like they aren't able to make it to the end of the year. And yeah, I think that you know being able to offer yourself more grace and kindness and compassion during just during life, like you're able to just process it better, you're able to just found a new foundation, you know, to build things off. And sometimes everything needs to crumble so you can start again. Sometimes everything needs to fall apart so you have like a new plan to begin. And I feel like I'm trying to figure out the lessons that I need to learn. I'm trying to figure out in what direction life is pulling me towards. Because sometimes also life is trying to show you something, it's trying to reveal something to you and within you. And that's also just how I'm trying to think of, you know, my life and the reflections and all the stuff that I'm going through. It's just like, okay, like what is it that I can take from this situation that will sustain me through my next season and everything else that I want for my life. And yeah, I think it's an exciting time to look forward to things. You know, there's endless possibilities. And I think if you're in the headspace where I'm at, where it's like just control, your day, just control this little bite size that you have and all of that, make daily goals, weekly goals. That's as much as you can give yourself. I think that's perfectly fine too, because also it's more, you're more likely to accomplish it. The more you break things down, the more you just kind of, take it one step at a time. When you think about like, oh, how am I gonna get there? It's really just one step at a time, putting one foot in front of the other. Instead of trying to think about things like I used to always think like, how am I gonna heal? How am I gonna get over this grief? How am I gonna be at a place where it doesn't bother me anymore? But it really is about like living one day into the next until you realize that like, you're living. You're living life. It's about going to see a friend, every now and then. Like you realize that there's these things that you're doing that are getting you to that place. And so starting again, it's exciting because you can redefine who it is you want. You can recreate who it is you want to be. And you just we're living in a time in our life where like the sky's the limit, even further, And so I think just try to look at your life with more excitement. Give yourself things to look forward to. Give yourself things to talk about, to write about, to dream about, to fantasize about. Like I feel like that's what makes life so like fulfilling in all those different ways. But yeah, I think that if you're feeling like you're in a place where you're confused, where you're muddled, where everything is just all over the place, I wanted to make this episode to remind you that like me too, first and foremost, but also that you can start again and we can start on a clean slate and we can rebuild. We can always rebuild. It feels like every brick in my house has been like pulled apart and it feels like my house is not a home. It feels like there's so many things that I feel. But what a fantastic thing, what an exciting and endearing thing to know that we can build something new, something different, something even bigger and better, if we just allow that opportunity to take place, if we allow love to take space. And yeah, I think that as we begin another chapter of our lives and stuff like that, like let's just start again with hope, with excitement, and just with this idea that we're going to build something beautiful. We're going to build a life that is beautiful, filled with beautiful things and beautiful people. As always, I'm sending my love. Goodbye.
What in the 20s is going
In the
on
20s
here?
here.
The 20s,
What
baby.
in the 20s?
What in the 20s is
I
going
am
on
here for
in
my
the
20s, baby.
This is the 20s.